Բարևձեզ, Սերժն է, այնսի, հուսամ ամենիդ առողջ եք, հուսամ լավ դրամատրության մեջ եք, գիրագի օր ըլլալով, գիրագի առավոտ ձեզ համար, ես Նյու Զիլանդում եմ, մեզի իրիգուն է այսօր, գիրագի իրիգուն է, և անգլերենով իդ խոսիմ մեծ մասով, դժբախտաբար ավելի հեշտ է ինձ համար, բայց փորձեմ բոլոր ձեր հարցումները պատասխանել. Lockdown's been a long time for both Armenia, the whole world, obviously. New Zealand we got out of lockdown here recently, and it's pretty much all open. New Zealand's a unique case where they've actually not just beat the curve, but they've gotten rid of COVID in the country, which is very, very unique. Being an island nation, they did the lockdown pretty quickly. They were able to work very hard at keeping everyone in their areas. In very strict lockdown from day one. It was about 2 months, and it's made a lot of difference. And I see a lot of places in the world that hasn't happened. The lockdown's been devastating for a lot of people, workers, people with small businesses. It's been a very negative experience in a lot of ways, but it's also taught us a lot of lessons, I think. One of the things that I've been thinking about is what this means. I heard it best. I heard a commentary on the internet. Someone said nature sent us to our rooms and told us to rethink what we're doing on this planet as humanity, how, our consumption, the type of energy that we use, our footprint, our carbon footprint on the planet. I think that's the most important lesson for me from this involuntary pause has been, it started making me think that what we have as our benchmark for progress, for society, for civilization is unsustainable. Consistent economic growth worldwide in all of its parameters is really unsustainable. So we have to think of other benchmarks to guide us into the future. Maybe the happiness index, maybe the lifestyle index or some other index, maybe the equality index. These are all things that, we have to go forward a different way. I was talking to a friend of mine here in New Zealand, a composer friend, Jump Sothis. We have a project that we're pitching together here. And we were discussing what normal means. And, and we came up with the idea that normal is our own extinction. I mean, going back to normal is going back toward our extinction in terms of unsustainable growth, in terms of, the type of lives that we all lead. And irrespective of the strength of alternative energies around the world, they cannot fully supplement fossil fuels. We have to curb our consumption. That also reflects having to do with food consumption. A large majority of carbons are created with animal husbandry, growing animals for digestion, for ingestion, for food. The amount of land that's used, the amount of water, the amount of corn and other food substances that are used for animals around the planet has really, really set us back in terms of what we need to meet in terms of carbon reduction deadlines in the near future. These are the lessons that I've learned. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear questions and comments and see what you guys are living through. I know Tumo's been closed for a while. That's been really tough for everyone. And I'm really glad that Tumo Live has been able to kind of keep everyone in touch and, kind of enthused and trying to make things work. I know Armenia's opened up in a lot of ways as well. And I hope that the cases go down and that, the country's able to kind of get over this really difficult time. Anyway, that's really all I had to say. So I will start reading the questions now. Question from Magridic Karapetian. What is the reason of current contradictions in SOAD? Why the band doesn't manage to release a new album? In different interviews, the members have talked about the collected and written songs, What will be the future of the songs when a systems concert in Yerevan expected? Let's start with the last question. We're hoping to redo a lot of the shows on the tour that we were going to do this year, next year. So we're looking at basically rescheduling a good number of the shows, maybe not all of them, but as much as we can next year. So when will Armenia be there? Probably, I would say sometime in summer, if everything goes well. We still don't know what next summer is going to be. It's still kind of going on, and how fast vaccines are prepared, and whether they'll allow large concerts anywhere in the world. We don't know. We can't see into the future, but that's our plan to start with. Why hasn't System made a record? It's quite really it's there's been many things said, but it's quite simple. We just haven't been able to see eye to eye creatively to go to the next level. And to me, and I know to the other guys in the band, System is very special, and what we've done together is very special. And we can't do something unless we're all really, really into the same direction, into the same goal, into the same vision. And that hasn't happened. We tried. I would say a couple of years ago, we made that effort. Songs were written by myself, by the other guys, etc. But we just couldn't. We couldn't see eye to eye, and that's really it. And that's okay. We're still all friends. We have great relationships, and we tour together. We have fun together. So, and that's that. Okay, next question. Why did you choose? Oops, just jumped. Why did you choose Nikol Pashinyan poem for a song? That's interesting question. So when the revolution happened, and I was in Armenia at the tail end of the revolution, and we were talking, I was talking with Nigel, we were talking about Armenian songs. I was playing him some music that I had written, and we were talking about how a lot of Armenian songs are very melancholic, very, our past has been very troubling, very struggling, genocide and all of this stuff. A lot of our songs are very sad. The duduk by nature is very sad, for example. So we were, since the revolution brought a new kind of vigor and enthusiasm to the Armenian nation, we thought it would be a great idea to have a song with more positive, victorious, however you want to phrase it, type of lyrics. And so when Nigel had written his piece, that I saw online, I discussed it with him, and we both agreed that it would be a great lyrical content for a song. And I sat down with my acoustic guitar, and the song just came to me, literally looking at the words, and and then we went back and forth trying to make the song better and better over time, and that's how it came about. Number 3. Wenturi, Costa, Brazil. I'm a big fan of his career in SOAD, and out of it, I think his vocal performance is different and wonderful. Thank you. In each of these works, but in the SOAD, she is more marked by drive, screams, and etc. In a possible future work with the SOAD, what could we expect from the vocal performance of Serj? Something more like your solo career, or a return to your roots? Hugs from Brazil, straight from your big fan. Thank you for the question from Brazil. I have no idea. Like I said earlier, we haven't been able to see eye to eye to be able to create together into the future. So I wouldn't know what a future type of vocal would be. But, I do have to say that, like anything else, things evolve. My vocals have evolved over time. My voice has evolved over time. So I think trying to do the same thing that you've done in the past is artistically redundant. And so, I don't know what the answer to that question is. Next question. Do you listen to music at home? What music do you prefer? That is a tough one. Yeah, I do. Obviously, I do listen to music. I listen to a lot of different types of music. I listen to classical music. I listen to jazz. I listen to rock. I listen to metal. I listen to a lot of, Armenian music. I listen to European music, dance music. There is no preference. I don't have a favorite ice cream. I don't have a favorite color. It's hard to prefer one genre over another. How could you prefer metal over classical, or jazz over, electronic? I mean, they're all different animals, So I prefer quality, though. What I like listening to is really good artists that do something different than your typical proto-genre type of, music. Next question. So it is really interesting. What is your today's occupation? Okay. What can Armenians do for you? Thank you for asking. This is from Lucine Makarian. What is my today's occupation? I think about that all the time, actually. Um, First and foremost, I'm an artist. And what that means is obviously I compose a lot of music, um, but I also paint. And I try to be creative in many different genres that appeal to me, visuals and different things. Because I think artistic vision is not just one particular thing. It could be anything. It's a perspective. It's a way of looking at things. You know, I've put out poetry books in the past, and I've done a musical, and played with orchestra, played with a rock band, played with a jazz band, and to me it's all just perspective. Keeping that in mind. But I have other responsibilities besides family responsibility as well. There's a business side of my art, my music, that I have to be on top of as well, that requires and takes a lot of time. I've recently been very busy with films as well. I Am Not Alone, the documentary that we made about the revolution in Armenia, is very powerful, and we're hoping that that comes out worldwide very, very soon. We're working on that. We had theatrical releases for that planned in April. Obviously, that all went up in smoke for now. I have another film that we've made called Truth to Power, a documentary about music and activism, with myself, System of a Down, and Live Nation as our co-production partners. We're hoping that comes out next year, maybe, or whenever we're able to find the proper and enthused distributor. I hope that answers your question. Number 6, will there be another symphony? That's funny you ask. I hope so. I hope so. I haven't written another symphony yet, but this COVID lockdown as an artist made me, because all of my releases were basically postponed or canceled or delayed. I had an art exhibit that was gone, 2 film premieres, whole tour, all this stuff. It made me really go back and just be creative for the sake of being creative, which is an artist's raison d'etre, reason for being. And so I've written a lot of music, so I don't have a new symphony, but I do have a piano concerto that's about 24 minutes, a very long modern piano concerto, which is not just piano, but all these electronic and analog instruments and pianos and strings and all this other stuff, along with a bunch of cinematic tracks that I want to release. And I'm also releasing a 5-song EP of rock songs that I intended originally to do with System. I have another EP that I'm almost finished with as well. So I technically have about 5 records worth of material that I'm done with, that I'm going to release between now and next year sometime. Next question. Dikran Fereshtian, how can you describe situation in Armenia? How can you describe the situation in Armenia? I mean, I just read the news because I'm not in Armenia. I'm in New Zealand. So it's kind of, I just get what I'm receiving from the news there. But I think everyone's dealing with COVID the best that they can. I think Armenia's done a good job, a decent job from the beginning. The fact that there's still infections is personal responsibility, I think, has something to do with that. I mean, you look at Italy and the huge cases originally in Italy, and a good part of that was because Armenians, like Italians, have big extended family that we all live together in many cases. And that is a danger to a lot of the elders suffering from COVID infections. So that might be a part of it. But personal responsibility is very important, having to do with COVID, the social distancing, the staying in your bubble as much as possible, only going out when it's necessary, etc. But if you're asking about Armenia in general, otherwise, I'm extremely enthused because since the revolution, every chapanish, every marker that I've seen has been tremendous growth. Armenia is diplomatically a different nation than it was previously, much stronger. Armenia economically is stronger. Economic growth has been amazing. Taxation's been amazing. The country's credit ratings increased dramatically. All the markers have gone up, which is incredible for a country. And I'm just looking at it very scientifically and factually, not emotionally. Emotionally, I'm also very enthused with the changes that have happened in the country, obviously. Next question. What advice can you tell young singers and songwriters? I get this question all the time, and it's really hard to generalize. I think it's very difficult because the times have changed. When I started doing music, the music industry was a completely different animal than it is now. Same with the film industry. So things have changed drastically. We didn't have social media when we started. The internet had just started when we became a band. Um, so there is much less investment in artists and artist development, artist A&R, and that kind of stuff worldwide. So it's almost like the artist has to make their own success to a small degree so that other people can be enthused by that success and take it to the next level. In the early days, I used to always say that if you can't create a fire in your own backyard, you can't burn the world creatively, musically. And I still feel that way. I think if you have something really special and people gravitate toward it, and you make these videos and you use all your friends and contacts and create something really beautiful, unique, powerful, whatever it is that you're creating, honest, most importantly, um, then I think people will gravitate toward it. When people gravitate toward it, people pay attention to it because they're able to do something with it, take it to the next level, etc. Um, but yeah, I think it would be great for. I've thought of this and spoke to a number of Armenian artists living in Armenia, that it would be great to have some type of forum to help connect Armenian artists with business people around the world, whether it's managers, agents, etc. Creative Armenia has been doing a great job, and I'm on their board, and we've had talks like this before with different artists and whatnot. And yeah, so that's my 2 cents there. Um, how do you picture a System of a Down in 5 or 10 years? I don't know. It's hard to picture. It's hard to know the future for anything, whether it's System of a Down or my own life or anything. Picture is one thing, visualizing is another. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I envision it. Okay, next question. Sarkis Karabedian. For you, who is the best rock singer of all time, and which rock singer do you prefer? All right, so funny enough, I'm a rock singer, but I've never really been a huge fan of rock singers. My singing influences come more from female jazz vocalists, I would say, like Nina Simone, and um, I I like all kinds of singers. I like Charles Aznavour type of singers, the chansons. I like bard poet singers, the rough voice, like um, Vysovsky, and I like all kinds of voices. I love Tom Waits because of that rough kind of voice as well. I like people that tell amazing stories through their voice, not just the tone, the pitch, the kind of vocal gameplay. One thing, I like Mike Patton. I think he's a great singer, for example. As a rock singer, Chris Cornell was a phenomenal singer and a good friend. There's many amazing singers out there. Uh, I've always thought of the voice as an instrument and not just a vocal, sitting on top of the music. I've always thought of it as an instrument to play along with the other instruments. And that's how I think I've been able to be creative with my voice in what I've done creatively. Next question, Sevak Hachvertian. Hey there, I'm a big fan and I'm in the army now. Hi Sevak, I sneaked my phone in and writing the kind of blows my cover, but fuck it. MP's definitely not watching your live now. Any thoughts on what should be changed next in the army? Again, I'm not in Armenia. I don't have the information that you have. You would know better than I would know what needs to be changed in the army. But one thing I can say is, from what I've seen from the news follow up, the food is much better. Your clothing and boots are much better. There's local manufacturing in Artsakh now for shoes and boots in the army. I know that there's always issues in any organization, obviously, and there's going to be. But I know that since the revolution, it's been a much better experience from what I've seen and from what I've heard. Next, when are you going to come to Tumo? Next time I'm in Armenia. I just don't know when that's going to be, likely next year, given how things are rolling right now. Um, so that's probably the best answer. Next question, Konstantin. Hello, dear Serj. How do local Armenian rock groups need to survive in the situation and also find labels, as there is no record label in Armenia? What are the ways to reach a large audience? That I've talked about that already. I kind of answered that question earlier. Um, I think you have to do what you can with what you have. Start locally and then try to, get more international. Once you have a nice local base, you use that as a projection, and try to find people that you work with. One thing that helped out with System earlier on in our career was meeting other bands in the same genre, even genres that are a little different, to try to play shows together. That was successful, but we were in Los Angeles. It was a much bigger kind of place, labels there and all of that. But that said, it's also extremely competitive. So that wasn't easy either. But I think we got to together come up with a way of finding better contacts for Armenian artists and Armenian bands for the business end of things, and having them play in European festivals because they're closer, obviously, to Armenia, play in Georgia, play in other places regionally. I know a lot of Armenian bands play in Russia and Moscow, etc., which is great, but expand that kind of base would be great. Next question. Danny Jack News. How was your reaction? How was your reaction to your actions at the beginning of quarantine? How you find motivation during such days? I kind of answered that in my little speech that I gave for 10 minutes at the start of the transmission. So you might want to refer back to that. What about soundtrack film Speedag? What about it? I really enjoyed working. I really enjoyed putting together the soundtrack for Speedag. I think it's a unique sound. And it was a different way of working on a film than I had before. It was a lot of back and forth, but I really liked the way that the soundtrack came out. It's this really dark and dense type of sound that we did for the film. So I'm really proud of it. Maria Mavetian, what is going to be the concert that was announced last year for June 2020? Is it going to be postponed? I answered that question earlier. We're trying to get that to happen in summer of 2021, next year. As you know, next question. As you know, Western Armenian is not official language in any country. For you who speaks Western Armenian, what do you think the government in Armenia should do to support people who speak Western Armenian? It's an interesting question. I was just talking to someone from the Kalus Gulbenkian Foundation. They've done a lot of work in trying to preserve Western Armenian around the world, because it is a disappearing language. And I think it is important work. I really don't know what the government should or would do in terms of helping preserve Western Armenian. I'm sure there are things that can be done. I haven't really thought about it. But I know that there's nonprofits that are working on that, and I have friends that are involved with that. So it's a good effort. Next question. Hi, Serj. I attended your first Kavap meet and greet. Thank you for coming, which ended up inspiring me to go to Armenia and teach 2 workshops at Tumo. Awesome. Good to hear. So thanks again. My question is this. Are there any types of workshops that you especially like to see taught at Tumo? There is so much being taught at Tumo in terms of workshops. It's crazy. I mean, and I can only keep up with some of it. You being a part of Tumo, all of you would know better than I would. But from the Tumo labs to the Tumo studios to, I mean, there are so many different things that are being taught. I think it's a phenomenal organization, and I'm proud to be a part of it, for years. And I think the Simonian's vision of Tumo has really changed Armenia in an incredible way. So I'm sure that didn't answer your question, but that's the best I can do. Next question. Do you think rock will ever have a comeback as a genre? Yeah, I mean, they say that genres of music in terms of popularity are cyclical. They say it's a 7-year cycle. I don't fucking know, you know. Truth be told, you know, it's really what people want to hear. It's what, um, you know, it's also what industries are pushing. You know, DJs have been pretty popular. They've been the kings of music for the last probably 7 to 10 years, I guess. So you'd think it is a time for rock music to come back. I don't know, but I'm not really married to one type of music. I mean, I've done a lot of rock. I do a lot of cinematic music and orchestral stuff and jazz stuff and electronic stuff. And so to me, it doesn't matter. To me, I would say that a good song could be dressed in any beautiful clothes. You know, you can make a good melody that you write on your acoustic guitar or piano, a punk song. You can make it an orchestral song. You can make it a jazz song, a rock song. The important thing is, does it stand on its own when you just play it with one instrument and sing? You know, is it powerful just naked? If it's powerful in that original stripped down form, then whatever you add on, you know, it should, you know, you can make it into anything, really, is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes songs are better in stripped down form. I was working on this one song that I wrote recently on acoustic guitar and vocals. I had the, you know, lyrics and everything done, and I did the song, and I'm like, okay, I kind of wanted to do a really complex electronic arrangement with glitch beats and all this stuff. And I've spent days and working on it. And every time I would just solo the vocals and acoustic guitar, it just sounded better stripped down. And I'm like, you know, so you got to play around with ideas and try different things. But ultimately, the song itself asks for its own genre, asks for its own form, its own dress. Let me see. Okay, next question. When and how did you understand that rock is yours? Rock is mine. I didn't grow up listening to rock music, actually. You know, I grew up listening to Armenian music and European music. And in the 70s, I was listening to the Bee Gees and disco. And in the 80s, I was listening to goth and new wave and all sorts of stuff, you know. Rock, especially heavy rock, was later for me. And my brother was a huge inspiration. He would play a lot of heavy music at home and get me into it. And later on, Darren became another co-conspirator in terms of introducing me to a lot of good rock bands. And so I wasn't necessarily someone who grew up on rock music and made it mine. I just kind of did it. Yeah. Next question. What is the thing that makes you create every day? Do you have any music inspirations? I would say I have a lot of music inspiration. I've written over 5 hours of music just last year. 3 are ended up as soundtracks, and then I've written a bunch of songs as well and collaborations. So music is, yeah, I think, look, having to be creative is important for me every day. Whatever form that takes is different every day. Music is the majority of it, but you know, sometimes I just paint and not do music. So, you know, but creativity definitely is the thing that excites me in the morning. I don't wake up excited to make a conference call to talk about business or talk to lawyers about a contract. I do that, but I don't wake up excited about it. I wake up excited going, shit, there's these songs that I'm about to finish. And I wonder if this other song would be great in that kind of grouping. I want to play around with mastering ideas. You know, it's those ideas that keep me going. Okay, as soon as I'm done with this stuff, I can go to my studio and work on it. Yeah, creative endeavors, new projects, new collaborations, new things I've never done, like my 24-minute modern piano concerto. Those things excite me. You know, whether people like them or not is secondary. I gotta say too. It's like I'm not creating for anyone else but myself. And that's how I've always been. I've created for me. And if I like it and I put it out there, some people may like it, some people may not, depending on the genre, depending on the language, depending on the whatever I do with it. But it doesn't matter. It's all equally important to me. And I spend as much time, effort, love, and care on everything that I do. The important thing for me is quality. You know, when it leaves my studio, I've got to put my stamp on it. I've got to be 100% that whether it's a crazy experimental track or a pop song, you know, and anything in between, instrumental or vocal, whatever it is, that it's got to be the best it can be before it leaves my hands. Um, Next question. Do you continue working on that 24-minute? Did you continue working on that? Can't get this out of my head. Yes, I did. It'll come out hopefully this year sometime. Kia ora, Serj. Kia ora. That means hello, how are you in Maori in New Zealand? Could you play or something, single something for us? Could you play or single? I'm not going to play anything right now. I'm just going to talk, unfortunately. So you're going to have to look at my mug, mate. Talk to you all this stuff. Talk to you bullshit. Anyway, what is your favorite? Next question. What is your favorite metal genre? I don't have favorite ice cream. I don't have favorite musical genres. I do like different types of metal. I like basic rock. I like, I like metal. I like dark metal. I like, death metal. I like trash, uh, trash metal. There's so many different things. I've met so many different bands and listened to so many different music. To me, it's just creativity. It's got to be unique. It's got to be something that's, if it's metal, I like it over the top. I got to say, not just basic. It's got to be interesting in some ways. Next question. Can you tell us a little about Chris Cornell? I know that he was your friend. Yes. I've known Chris for a long time. God, when did we meet? Yeah, many years ago. At least a decade or two, I gotta say. And we became friends and we connected probably through Tom Morello and Audio Slave, I'm guessing. And I saw him a few months before, and together sitting next to each other in John's dinner, and we had a great chat. And he had brought his daughter and his wife, Vicky, and we had a great time. And we were talking about future projects, and he was very, very excited about everything that he was doing. He was talking about touring with Soundgarden, touring with his solo stuff. We were talking a lot about his solo projects. I kept on telling him, you gotta do something with an orchestra, man. Your voice is like perfect for an orchestra. I would love to help arrange, or anything I can help you with, count me in. And, he had a lot of, he had a lot of projects, a lot of ideas, which is why his death never made any sense to me. And that was the last time I saw him. And yeah, we had a lot of interaction because of the film, The Promise. We both worked on end title credit songs, and both supported the film, and we were together at events at the Toronto Film Festival together, and all of that. Yeah, I've had a few. Him and Anthony Bourdain's passing the same year really threw me off emotionally that year. How did you come up with the idea of making a song with Misho and Cebu? Well, both Misho and Cebu are friends, and we were hanging out at my house in LA. We were playing music to each other, drinking, eating, laughing, just having a good time. And then I saw Misho right before I left to come to New Zealand, and he played me a song. I had sent him a song, he had sent me a song, then he played me a song. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is really cool. And that was Introvert, the beginnings of Introvert. And so when I came to New Zealand, I did my vocal parts, and I encouraged Misho to reach out to Cebu to work on the choruses, because I know Cebu is phenomenal at melodic voicings and harmonies, and creating extremely catchy phrases, and all of that. So I'm really happy with how the song came out. It's a beautiful multilingual hip hop / pop song that I really am very grateful to be on. And I really like Misho's emceeing. I it's really for me, when I listen to an artist, I have to feel them. I have to believe them. The intentions behind their words and their voice has to be honest and true. And I really feel that with him. His flow is original. The stuff that he says, I feel it, And so I really like what he does. That's how it came about. Okay. Let me just scroll back here one sec. Is playing classic guitar must learn if you want to learn playing bass guitar? I think the question is, do you have to learn classical guitar to play bass guitar? I don't think so. I've never studied any music, man. And I write for orchestra, so go figure that. I think you can play any instrument as long as your ears are your guide, and that you have the love for it, and your hands will learn where to go, I guess. Studying music is not bad at all. I mean, I almost wish I had studied composition years ago, because I could read a little music. I'm self-taught, but I'm not proficient in the least bit. So if you want to learn classic guitar and play bass, go for it. But if I were you, I just pick up the bass and start there. Which was the most memorable gig of all? Hope you see you soon. Which was my most memorable gig of all? I don't know. It's really hard to tell because I've had amazing shows with System. Definitely the Armenia show in 2015 was the most kind of memorable show that I've ever played with System. Probably the most memorable show ever. Such a unique kind of thing. I've described it previously as feeling like we were designed to play that show. Like everything we had done was designed to be there that day, play that show, do that, what we did there. And so that would probably be the most. God, I should have brought some water. Give me a sec. All right. Let's see. Next question. Badev Serj, we know that you are the one who demands for recognition of the genocide, and you are the person who honestly did a great job in that process. Thank you. But my question is about us. What do you think about the concept, we are ready to forgive but never forget? This is the concept that was criticized and discussed a lot in Armenian media last year, so your opinion is very interesting. It's kind of like this. It's a very important question. The U.S. Congress recognized the genocide late last year, which was a huge victory for Armenian Americans and the whole Armenian nation worldwide, I think. And when is the whole recognition kind of work going to stop, and we switch to justice, to some of the other components of dealing with the atrocities that we've been victimized by? And I think it is getting to be that time. I think it's time that we look at other options in terms of dealing with Turkey, in terms of reparations, in terms of some restoration, at least in terms of lands. It's a difficult time to do so with Erdogan. I give the world that, but it is something that I've been pondering about. But I gotta say, you can't forgive anyone that doesn't speak the truth. So if you had a fight with a friend and you got together and in your heart you wanted to forgive them, but they weren't honest, they didn't have good intentions, and they didn't feel the same way that you did, how the fuck would you forgive them? That's what it really comes down to. I think to forgive, you need a partner on the other side that's willing to engage with good intentions, and come to the table with good intentions in terms of making good on the truth about the genocide, recognizing the genocide to start with, and then talk to them from there on. And that's how I look at things. I look at things in terms of a duality of honesty and good intentions. Otherwise, it's hard to forgive. It is. All right, let's see. Next question. Hi, Serj. I have an educational project in Russia where I talk to interesting people live. How can I talk about your participation? I don't get a reply to my mail. Sorry, I haven't gotten any mail from you. My office gets a lot of mail and a lot of requests to do interviews and webcasts like this and stuff. And I really I don't do a lot of them. I try to, because honestly, if I'm talking, I'm not creating. I'd rather create than talk. And to me, Tumo is special. So I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to be a part of this. So I do this on a number of occasions where I feel like I'm already a part of something and I want to give back. But I don't like doing this generally. I'd rather not talk. I'd rather create. I'd rather do. So if we haven't gotten back to you, my apologies. um, all right, next question. I'm your big fan. My childhood was your music. Thanks for such a childhood. Thank you. Thanks for saying that. I'm curious, have you ever thought about opening your music school in Armenia? Please skip question 30. Oh, okay. Um, my own music school. Well, first I'd have to go and learn music to teach music because I've never studied music. So no, I've never thought of opening up a music school in Armenia or anywhere else. Next question. Is there any book which changed your life? There are many books that's changed my life. The ones that have changed my life the most are books about spirituality and books about our indigenous past. Those two topics, and a lot of political books, I should say. So those three different genres of reading, I would say, are probably have had the most profound impact on my life and my thoughts and philosophies. Okay, next question. What do you think makes System unique? I think what makes System of a Down unique is our us four, and what the energy that the perspective that we each have within the group, and how the music kind of travels through each of us. What John would do in response to what Darren does, and vice versa with each and every member and all possible mathematical combinations. That's unique. That's why I've always said I don't ever want to be in the band if one person leaves, irrespective of what they play or who they are. To me, System's that magical, that important, that if one person left, it wouldn't be System for me. So I wouldn't do it. It's hard to explain what that is. It's like this creative magic mysticism that these four people kind of combined do together. And I think if you replace part of the formula, it would never be the same, for what it's worth. What did you advise to 20-year-old Serj Tankian? Don't drink so much. That's probably the first thing I would say to 20-year-old Serj. And what else? I think I wouldn't advise anything because I don't regret anything. Life is a combination of stimuli and experiences, and you build upon them and you learn from things. Even the accidents are part of your experience, and without them, you wouldn't be who you are. So I don't think I'd say anything. I'd just say everything's gonna be okay, bro. Chill. Next. Hadib Seme Hambarzumian asked, have you ever tried to create in another genre? The answer is yes. Look at my discography. Number 30. Next question. Hi, Serj. I'm a big fan of yours. I have got your signature at the WCIT event and keep it. Thank you. I have one question. What is your next main mission in your life? My main mission in my life? To save the planet. Let's do it together. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been talking about the need for us to refocus and go forward in a different way after COVID on the planet. I think I've been focused on that philosophically, theoretically. I really believe in it. I really believe that unless we make a seismic shift in our vision and how we enact our future, we are, we're not going to be in a good place as a global humanity. So that's kind of been my focus. But my daily focus is creativity and doing what I do and expressing myself and, creatively through music mostly and the arts. And I'm going to keep on doing that. I want to score some more great films. That's what I'm waiting for now. and I want to see I Am Not Alone released. I can't wait till you guys all see the film about the revolution. I think it's we've won so many awards. Literally almost every film festival we've gone to, we've won an award at. It's going to be it's already an award-winning film, but I think it's magical. So proud to be a part of it. Next question. Kia ora, Serj. Kia ora. Do you reckon COVID pandemic could bring another mentality to the world? I mean, how we are dealing with production, consumption, and exaggeration, capitalism killing our environment, etc. Another question from Aotearoa. Thank you for asking. That's kind of what I just talked about, and I talked about it earlier as well at length at the beginning of the webcast. So check that out. But yes, I really do think that we need to look at things in a different perspective at this point. We're seeing different nations grappling with COVID in completely different ways. And what's interesting to me is when you look at the top nations that have the worst, outbreaks, the largest infections, they are generally, I would say, countries that are exhibiting the worst leadership. That's an interesting fact, and that says a lot, because one thing about COVID that made things very clear is all the bullshit fell on the side. Essential became essential food, essential workers, everything that was essential to our lives, the family that we're with, our little bubble, and everything else fell on the side. So if you look at countries that have done a horrible job, they're at the top of the list. Leadership that have done a horrible job. I'm thankful that we're in New Zealand, because obviously New Zealand's done a phenomenal job. Okay, next question. Which SOAD song is your favorite to perform live, and why? It's hard to tell. We probably have 75, 80 songs. Which is my favorite to do live? I don't know. I can't pick one. How about that? Next question. Do you need Armenian society's help or support in any part of your work? What can we do for each other? That's very kind of you to ask. I'm good. I appreciate the question. I don't know how Armenian society would be helpful for my work, but one thing we are working on right now is to make a connectivity of Armenian society. We've created something called Hi Connect, and we've been programming a digital platform for the Armenian nation online, so that everyone can get on, register, have their information, and look at creating connections with Armenians around the world, whether they're interactions having to do with hobbies or projects or symposiums or philosophy papers, anything that people can think of. It's going to be quite interesting when we launch, and we're hoping to launch by this summer. So all of that is being worked on, and I'm hoping that helps make the connection between Armenians, definitely between diaspora and Armenia, but also Armenians worldwide from anywhere, just being able to connect regarding things that they're interested in. There is no such platform, or at least nothing effective. And so we're hoping that we're able to do that. And it's going to be foundation that's doing it. So it's a nonprofit type of thing, and I'm very excited about it. So we'll see. Next question. What is your favorite film you made soundtrack for? That's a tough one. Again, favorites. Everyone's asking favorites. What the fuck, man? I don't have favorite anything. I like doing everything. Don't you see that? Let's see. Look, I'm really, really proud of all the films I've worked on. The standout ones to me are, I would say, I really loved working with Joe Berlinger on Intent to Destroy, a documentary about genocide denial that was up for an Emmy. I think that's a phenomenal film. I'm proud, and I've been friends with Joe, and he's a main producer on I Am Not Alone and Truth to Power, and I've worked on another film with him, scoring another film for him. So that stands high in my thing. But I'm also proud of this Russian film that I worked on called Furious, Legend of Kolovrad, because it is such a great action score. It's such a, I've been wanting to do an action score for years. So when I did it, I was so satisfied, fulfilled. So I really enjoyed doing that. But, you know, I did the music for I Am Not Alone, which you guys will hear this year, hopefully. I did the music for my own documentary film, Truth to Power. I love doing scores. I really enjoy them. Anyway, um, next question. Please name your favorite local Armenian musicians. That's a tough one. There are, I'm not going to name any of them because there's a lot of them. And, you know, I speak to a number of them, uh, whether it's through Creative Armenia or, you know, through Tumo. You know, Tumo's got some cool bands, you know, Arik and Tumbata and, you know, the Beats guys and, you know, you guys have, you know, some beautiful, beautiful music. And there's some amazing music in Armenia, honestly. Modern bands, rock, non-rock, singer-songwriters. There's a lot of great new stuff coming out, and I think post-revolution's been very great in terms of uh, in you know that enthusiasm, that high spirit of wanting to create, wanting to add to something. All right, next. If you weren't who you already are, what other profession would you choose? If I wasn't who I already am, who am I? You're assuming I already know who I am to know what the alternative to for me to philosophize on what the alternative could be. I'm not exactly sure who I am. I keep on changing. I've done many things in my life, and I own all of them. Um, so I don't know. I mean, it depends. Um, I've been an activist my whole life before even becoming a musician. So I think that would definitely be part of my, vision no matter what. Because it's just my personality. It's who I am. I hate injustice. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what other field I would be in. Um, Next question. Will Electric Yerevan be a part of the Elasticity EP? Yes, it will be. And I'm looking forward to putting that out. It's been a song I've had for a while, and it means a lot to me because of the Electric Yerevan protests and what they meant for the revolution. All these little protests kind of became the building blocks upon which the revolution eventually took place. And I was very inspired by all of you on the streets in Yerevan when that was happening in 2016, 2015, 2016. And so that song was, an immediate reaction on my end as an artist. I love how that happens. I love the kind of communion between being inspired and inspiring back and forth creatively. Next question. Hi, Serj. Could you please tell a little about Visa, the band Visa? I know that you are the producer of the group. Yes, I used to work with them. I don't work with them anymore, but I did help them out when we first started. I took them on tour in Europe, and the guys are friends. Antrani Kazirian is a very good friend of mine. You can hear his oud all over my films, on other songs that I've done. Um, they're just amazing. I've played with Jivan Jr., done an orchestral show with him, and they're a great band. What can I tell you about them? They're kind of like gypsy punk, ethnic, I would say, genre-wise. Check it out. When can we watch I Am Not Alone? Soon, I hope. Soon, soon, soon. Fingers crossed. I might have some good news very, very soon on distributor picking up I Am Not Alone. So I'm very excited that hopefully everything will work out. And but I'm hoping this year sometime. I'm just not sure when at this time. Yeah. Okay. Um, Next question. Do you think your Yerevan concert 23 April was the most epic? Probably, yeah, I would say so. As far as System of a Down, I think it was the most epic. Um, you know, but I also loved the orchestral show that I did at the launch of Tumo in 2011. I think that was an epic show too. Um, we played with, at the time it was called the Opera House Orchestra, and it was at the Tumo Center. There was a huge stage. It was summertime. There was like 11,000, 12,000 people. It was beautiful. Like, it was the first time that, I mean, the only time I had played before that in Armenia was with the FCC, my backup band, in 2010, which was the year before. We played at, I can't remember. I can visualize it, but I can't remember the name. But anyway, and but this one was different. Like, I saw all the youth, the energy in their eyes, and I started getting a glimpse of the near future of Armenia. And then in 2015, when we played with System, I saw today's Armenia in all of your eyes. I saw it. I saw it in all of your positivity, in all of your enthusiasm. I saw the future of Armenia. I just didn't know that it was only going to take, what, a few years for the revolution to happen and there be a total different type of, system where young people would be more in control than they ever had been in Armenia. So I look at both those shows very fondly because of that, what I saw. Okay. Next question. What do you like most about Armenia and Armenians? What do I like? Sounds like a question you'd ask a fucking tourist, bro. I'm not a tourist. What do I like most about Armenia and Armenians? Eşiyuh. No. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I think I've never liked the concept of, I always think, years ago I had a song called Borders Are, and talking about what borders mean, and what flags mean, and what nationality means, and what patriotism means, and what nationalism means. And for me, maybe it's because I'm an artist, but the most beautiful things about any people are their culture, their customs, their art, their clothes, their food, what makes them special. It's their smell, it's their, how they see things, their spirituality, their indigenous past. So I would say that's what I love most about Armenia. But that's what I love about any country, really, or any people. Next question. Do you think that the influence of music can be favorable to solve some global problems? This is kind of like part of the question that we're trying to answer in the film Truth to Power. Can music change the world? How does that work? And, my own testimony as an artist, in being an Armenian artist, growing up in, the US, and making it a personal kind of journey to talk about awareness of the genocide to start with, and then being involved with Armenia's current world, it shows that, I'm just kind of trying to be objective, but there is definitely an impact going on there. There has been an impact, from what we've seen. There's a lot of kids, I shouldn't say kids, people in college, that have written to us directly asking us for references and resources to write their thesis, their PhD papers, their high school papers about the Armenian genocide because they were fans of System of a Down or myself. That's a huge thing, so music can make a difference. But the way I look at it is, the way it makes a difference, the formula, if you will, is music's an intuitive medium that changes the way that people perceive things intuitively, your heart, right? And when that changes, that emotion, that feeling can help change your mind about things. When you change your mind about things, you're changing the reality of your world. And therefore, you're impacting actual change. And that's how I look at the process. Next question. Do you feel any changes between Armenia and diaspora after revolution? Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I don't see the revolution as just a revolution in Armenia. I see the revolution as a revolution for the Armenian nation. You know, um, as much as there were organizations in the diaspora that were in cahoots with the previous Republican regime, the majority of diasporan Armenians hated the oligarchic kleptocracy that dominated the country, and realized that needed to change. They were hoping for that change, but they didn't know how that was going to happen, and it definitely wasn't the diaspora's work to do it. It was your job in Armenia. It was your revolution, in that sense. But when the revolution happened in Armenia, I came as soon as I went back to Los Angeles, and everyone was asking me, "So what's going on there? How is it? This, that." My first reaction, my first kind of um, honest reaction was, we had a revolution in Armenia. It's time to do it in the diaspora now. We need a new way of looking at Armenia. We need a new way of connecting with Armenia. We need a new way of looking at our nation. And that was the honest truth that came out of my lips and my mind at that time. Um, and I think the revolution was the largest gift we've had in the last number of centuries as a nation. And um, and I think that we shouldn't take it for granted. I think we should protect it. Um, we should what's the word? Um, Kurkurankov betkenayink, yeah. Next question. In these days, I've met with Azerbaijani political activist Gias Ibrahimov, whom you helped when he was imprisoned because of the street art on Haidar's statue, and you standed for him. He's very thankful now and free. And my question is about peace between these two nations, and not only about political level, also between still people. How do you think possibilities and challenges? Okay, I'm just trying to. Wow. Okay. So this is about a Azerbaijani political activist who was jailed in Azerbaijan with the last name Ibrahimov, and I must have, said something about his imprisonment, and I'm glad he's free. That's great. Thank you. I'm glad he's thankful as well. Look, I think it's best said that I like the way Prime Minister Pashinyan has been talking about the resolution to the conflict with Azerbaijan. That it has to be, the solution has to be acceptable to both peoples, not just the governments themselves, because people have to live with this. This is history. And we know the difficulty of the situation with Azerbaijan, and I think things would be helpful if we have a democracy, we have a real democracy. It would be nice if they had one too. I think, because then you can actually hopefully have leaders that can sit and be reasonable about stuff, not a oil plutocracy that you're dealing with, and that's difficult. So I think, I'm hoping that the Azerbaijani people, not just the Azerbaijani people, but I'm hoping a lot of people around the world get the gift of a lifetime of a peaceful revolution that they can enjoy the fruits of for the rest of their lives and for their kids and grandkids, because that puts everyone in a better position of having the right intentions in terms of dealing with each other, in terms of dealing with difficult political issues. Okay, next question. Does the new government meet your expectations? I'm assuming you're talking about the government in Armenia. I would say they've surpassed my expectations. The vulnerability early on of the revolutionary government was very scary to me, because you have these, very, very wealthy oligarchs who control a large part of the media and a good part of the state infrastructure. And I was very afraid in the beginning. And I am really, really, it's surpassed my expectations of what they've been able to achieve in just a few years. And literally a few years, right? Like we're in May still, um, and no, I'm extremely hopeful. This COVID thing obviously took a big chunk out of the economic growth, and it's been difficult. But it's not just for Armenia; it's the whole world, obviously. But I'm very, very hopeful. I'm very, very thankful, and I gotta say, I say this in the Truth to Power film, but when I landed in Armenia and I was walking amongst the people with Nigol, looking at their faces, looking at your faces, I've never seen that type of elation. I mean, I've seen happy people, I've seen excited people, I've seen 100,000 Brazilians at Rock in Rio going wild, but I had never seen that type of elation. It's the type of elation you only experience when people throw off the chains of some type of oppression. It's a unique experience. I was telling my friends, it's something you have to see in a lifetime. It's the only time I've ever seen it, and I know it's the only time I'm ever going to see it before I die. Hopefully not, but I know that that's probably what it's going to be like. But it is that unique to me. Um, I'm very sensitive to those things. I pay attention as an artist, and to me, that was such a unique thing to experience that I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Yeah, they've served past it. How is Kavat Coffee going? Any update on maybe a new flavor you are working on? Kavat Coffee is going good. In the US, we're primarily an online outfit. We are also in Armenia, as you know, Kavat Coffee Armenia. And so we're working with our licensees there. We don't have any new flavors coming up yet, but I do want to work on new one. This is probably not the best time to be doing so, but in the near future, I do want to work on stuff. But we also want to. We haven't done any brick and mortar expansion in North America. We are looking into doing that. We're looking at doing a lot of collaborations with different coffee companies, really cool people that make amazing coffee that we can do collaboration coffee product or beer with coffee and that kind of stuff. So there's a few of those in the works. We have some friends in Brazil looking at doing some stuff there, in the States, etc. So we're looking to expand in time, but it's really a passion project. It's not, something that, I'm not doing it for money. It's a commercial product, but it's something that we love doing. Our team loves doing, and we're all music people. We're in the coffee business. It's kind of fucked up, but it's kind of fun. It is fun. Anyway, next question. If Pashinyan's government doesn't satisfy the people's needs and people go out to the streets, would you support them again, meaning the people? I've always supported the people of Armenia. But that said, it all depends on what the truth is. You have people in the US right now in the streets, not wearing masks with their rifles, asking for governors to rescind lockdown notices because their crazy leader in the White House, President Trump, is telling them to do so. Do I support that? Fuck no. It all depends on intentions. It all depends on the truth. The truth of the matter is the majority of the Armenian people are very supportive of the government of Armenia currently. They know what's happened. They know that no matter what problems they've had, no matter what they're dealing with, that based on the intentions and based on our past, this is the best thing that's ever happened to us. And I stand with that firm belief as well. Next question. Do you plan any collaboration with other Armenian artists? Sure. I mean, I don't have any plans now, but I'm open to collaborations with any artist whose music that I enjoy and that I can be a part of something, I'm always open to it. Right. What time is it? 9:00. 3 minutes to 9. So if there's any other last minute questions, I'll take care of them before saying good night, or good day to you, good night to me. Are there any other questions, Tumo? One sec. Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to everyone who's come on, everyone who's asked the questions. I'm glad we were able to address them all, not just some. And I hope you all stay safe. I hope that you are all in a very difficult time to be inspired, that you are inspired by something, by the future, by your family, by your creativity, by your, by your potential. Um, and I hope to see you one day soon. Thank you. Bye bye.